Welcome back to KP Unpacked. My name is Jeff Eccles. I am the director of our mastermind groups and our incubator at KP Ready Co. And every week I get to ask KP Ready, hey, when you posted that on LinkedIn, what were you thinking? I'm joined as usual by KP Ready. He's the CEO and founder of KP Ready Co. He's also the founder of Shadow Ventures. And like I said, this is my weekly opportunity to sit down with KP and unpack the things that he's posting on LinkedIn. If you're not following him on LinkedIn, you should be. He posts about this every once in a while, but he's capped out on the connections over there on LinkedIn. So follow him, and a couple of times a day, maybe 3 times a day, you'll see one of his posts where he shares insights, where he shares observations, where he shares the things that he's hearing, the things he's talking about all around the AEC industry, and all focused on innovation for the way that we design, the way that we build, and the way that we operate in the built environment. So KP, welcome back. Glad to see you.
Hey, Jeff. You forgot to mention
Uh,
we're the number one podcast in AEC. So
I did forget that
every
we
time,
are the number
every
one. My mom started listening,
yep.
so we've really bumped up in the rankings.
I got stopped in a hotel lobby the other day and was asked like, "Hey, are you KP? Like, I love your podcast."
Nice,
Yeah,
that's great.
only cost me $100. So great.
So was the question, was it, hey, are you KP? Or did you walk up to somebody and hand them $100 and say, I'm KP, ask me about my podcast?
I slipped him $100 bill with a note
Okay.
to have
All
a
right. That's a good
conversation. Like,
strategy.
why would I have a conversation? Just like hand him a note, like, "Hey, kind of, I'm over here with a group of people. Can you walk up to me and just like,
Yeah. That's a little inside baseball, folks. That's how it
yeah,
works around here.
that's how it works, man."
Yeah. What you should do is you put on a disguise and you walk
Mhm.
around and you find KP at an event or whatever, and you kind of get close to him and speak a little bit intelligently, and he'll hand you
Yeah.
$100.
I mean, everybody else is spending money on Google AdWords and
Yeah,
CPA, like whatever. I just walk around with like $100 bills and little notes to hand to people. Like, walk up to
it's,
me and act very excited to meet me in person.
I'm gonna have to ask Ro to update the marketing budget to reflect that. Oh, wow, I didn't see the line item for that, but it's good to know. Well, it's interesting you say that because as I said in the intro, and of course you know this, and you show up for all of the incubator sessions as well, but um, and even on the venture side, maybe especially on the venture side, you see pitches all the time,
Mhm.
right? You hear people talking all the time about their great ideas. Um, you read articles. We both read articles. We see things in the news. We hear it through the grapevine, et cetera. And this post that we're going to unpack today. So we're recording this in April 2025. Um, I think what we're talking about is evergreen. I don't think this changes at all.
Yeah.
But if you want to go back and find the post, you can. It's back probably about April 10th, 2025. And it's all about storytelling. It's about getting your idea across. So, as usual, I'll go ahead and read it. It's not a very long post. I'll read it, and then KP and I will unpack it. So, it starts out like this. Does your AEC innovation group have a pitch deck? Are they great at storytelling? AEC Innovation Group should think like a startup when it comes to this. If you are the CEO of an AEC firm and you haven't seen a pitch from your innovation group that amazed you, they are doing it wrong. Now, one of the things that I'll say, again related to the intro, in the mastermind groups that I facilitate and you sit in on almost all the
Mhm. Mhm.
we have a number of people in the innovation leaders mastermind group, the construction
Yeah.
tech leaders mastermind group. Um, a number of the folks that are participating in those groups run the innovation group, right? They have a spin out or they have a different, they have a working group. A lot of firms, they have different terms and structures and things, but there are actually quite a few innovation groups out there in the AEC world. And so I think this is, first of all, this is great advice because communication comes up. How do you communicate to your internal clients, to your external clients, what innovation is, what you're working on, et cetera? But this is taking it even a step further. So when you were writing this, when you were posting this, what inspired it? What was it that led you to think, I need to put this down right now, or
Yeah.
put this into LinkedIn right now?
Yeah, so I think this is the I obviously I give a lot of workshops and talks, all that good stuff, and it was apparent to me that if you look at, like, I'm not going to pick on any one company because it
Yeah.
applies to all the companies.
Hmm.
If you are a construction company and you are presenting to an owner or a design team about buying your services, what are those key messages, right? The key messages are, we've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Here's our project portfolio. Like, those are all the table stakes, so to
Hmm.
speak, are,
Right. Right. It's a
are
great way to
those
put it.
things, right?
Hmm.
Those are the table stakes. And the innovation is like this thing that you throw in there, a slide with some drones and LiDAR and BIM images. Like, we do innovation too. I don't think that sways the customer one way or another. So if you think about, like, just from a sheer business perspective, a lead comes in for you to do construction, you're probably catching the RFP, right? You're not out there developing it that much, or that's just how the industry is. And so your innovation group is an exact opposition from a brand identity to the core business.
Hmm.
Like, if you tell me, like, oh, we're very innovative, we're an innovative startup, we've been around for 100 years, I'll be like, you're not an innovative startup. Like, so all the, the counter argument to everything that is the brand identity to sell more work as a contractor, the innovation group message is actually the opposite, right? So if you look at a stakeholder, whether it's a customer or an employee, right? Hey, I'm trying to recruit someone. Well, what are you selling at the construction company? Stability, safety, years of service, community, family. In your innovation group, it's like, move fast and break things. You may or may not make it because we're moving fast. It's like, so almost every brand point is opposite for the innovation group. So my feeling is, like, when you play the middle, the story gets confusing. The
Yep.
message gets confusing. So I think the way you really look at it is, if I'm pitching a customer tomorrow, I would say, great, like, here's the agenda. I'm going to talk about our firm and our background. And then I'm going to have Steve, who runs our innovation group, come in and pitch. And Steve's deck has to be not just branded differently, it has to 100% be branded differently. That's what I love about these innovation groups creating their own brand name. I think
Right.
it's important, right? Branded differently, the deck is different, the message, it's all those things, right? And then we'll continue with our regularly scheduled program of being boring and how much our bonding is and all those things, right? Right, which are important to the customer. So I think by having a separate brand and a brand identity and a pitch deck, that's how you should show up to a customer pitch as an innovation leader. Not, oh, here's two slides, throw it in the deck, right? And I think, and I just don't think the innovation leaders know how to pitch. I don't
Yeah.
think they're thinking that way.
No, I would agree, and I think, to your point, table stakes. I would even say, it's, maybe this is just two sides of the same coin, but it's the expected things,
Mhm.
right? We expect you, right? We had in our RFP, we had this checklist,
Right.
right? And if you didn't check all the boxes, there's a really good chance that you didn't even make the short list. If you did check the boxes, so what?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that, because I used to teach teams to pitch in RFP shortlist world,
Mhm.
and the irony is, right, that most of the groups out there, most of the marketing teams out there are using that RFP and the accompanying checklist, or whatever the format is. They're thinking about that in terms of making the short list. when in fact the selection committee is thinking about that in terms of eliminating people. So we're thinking about it on our side in terms of making it in, and they're thinking about it on their side from kicking people out. So we're coming
Mhm.
at it from opposite directions. And I think the thing that I've always found most effective is, how do I break their system? If I'm pitching, how do I break their system as quickly as possible?
Mhm.
Do I need to have the bonding? Do I need to have the
Yeah.
project experience? Absolutely. But what's the story that I'm telling that's breaking that mold, right? That's
Mhm.
that's putting it out there, and it's just like, what I want the pitch team to do is knock them off of their seats so they don't even remember where they are,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They don't even remember that checklist anymore.
Right. I think so I think that there's exactly what you're talking about, but I also think, um, I also think the way you have to look at it is, right now, if you're a couple slides of the innovation group,
Mhm.
to the customer, it's a big so what, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you have your own pitch deck, your own brand, you have to sell your value prop,
Mhm.
in a way highly disconnected from the core business. Because the core business, I mean, honestly, the stuff they pitch could be filled out in a spreadsheet. I'm not sure why we have
Right.
to show up and pitch, quite honestly, right?
Yeah.
Here's a Dropbox file, like here's all our stuff, right? It's a big so what. But I think it's a forcing function for the innovation group to
Mhm.
talk about their value prop and their differentiator. Uh, Almost like if you think about it this way, right? This is a wild idea. I just thought of it. What if I was a GC and I brought in as my team? Like, we all bring in teams, right? It's not
Yeah.
always just one company. What if I was a GC and on my team, I brought in the innovation group from another GC?
Okay.
Like, why
That's
not?
different.
Right? Like, different. Like, why? Let's go through that thought experiment, right? So the
Okay.
innovation team, they're on this team, this JV team, right?
Mhm.
Like you would pitch a
Yep.
JV team. Here's our JV team with this innovation group. The number one thing the customer is going to ask is, like, why are they here? What are they bringing to the
Exactly.
table? What's their value, right? So
Exactly.
a little bit, I feel like some of these innovation leaders, they're not earning a seat at the table. They're just getting a seat at the table. And if
Yeah.
I was a BD or a project executive at a big GC, like, why do I want my innovation person there? Like, how are they helping me win
Mhm.
the job? How are they contributing to the team? And I think there's an inherent laziness with innovation teams to not dig deep on these topics, because they didn't earn a seat at the table. But think about it. If you're an innovation group and a GC came to me and said, "Hey, I want you to be on my team. Tell me what you bring to the table," they
Mhm.
would have to approach it very differently.
Yeah. Yeah, to put it a different way, right? The selection team, whoever they are on the owner side, they're looking at everything. They're looking at every submission. They're listening to every speaker, every person that's on your team and your competitor's team, et cetera. And they're seeing and hearing everything through the lens of what's in it for me,
Right.
right? And so if the innovation team has two slides, to your
Mhm.
point, and they show up and it's just they're a cool add-on,
Right.
and I'm on the selection committee. I'm like, so what? What is that? What does that bring
Right.
to me? What does that matter to me? And I think your example of bringing in another GC's innovation team, that's super interesting to me. One, from the selection committee side, I'm like, okay, what's this about?
Yeah.
But my guess is that if you're doing that, you're going to tell a story about the reason that you brought that team in.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to coordinate this and they're going to bring in the technology to plug this, that, and the other together. And
Mhm.
right, this is why it matters to you. This is, to your point,
Yeah.
the phrase that you used is the appropriate phrase, that the value proposition, the value that they're bringing to this project, the
Mhm.
reason we're bringing them in from a different GC is this value, and this is the impact it's going to have on the
Yeah.
project for you, the owner.
Right. Think about this, right? I mean, this is actually a great, it's not even a thought experiment, as I
Hmm.
dig into it, as my brain is working on functioning. Um, they do it with self-perform. A lot of GCs self-perform
Right.
concrete, but they
Hmm.
also get bids from other subs. And they
Right.
don't
Right.
always, the self-perform team has to win the work. Yes. Is there a preference that if it's in-house? Yes. If they're too expensive? No. If the project is too complex for the experience they've had to
Right.
date? No, right? It's no different. I think architects do it as well. There's a lot of architects I know that might have like interior design in-house, but they do office buildings. Well, when they win a hospitality job, they bring in a different interior designer that only does high-end hospitality projects, right? That
Hmm.
design
Could be. Yeah.
lobbies with hand-painted wallpaper or whatever it is they care about, right?
Right.
It could be, right? So I think in terms of best fit for the job, I think we have to start thinking that as an innovation team. And I, by the way, I do know some GCs that loan out their innovation team to other contractors, not to sell the work, but to do the work. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that before, especially when early days of BIM. Like, oh, I don't have enough people. Do you have some people? Sure. Like my BIM team can help your BIM team out, right? That happened. Um, so I think it's time. I mean, I think um, start taking it to be a real thing. If I'm the CEO of a company and now let's say I'm 3 years in, 4 years in, funding my innovation strategy, where's my money? I've been
Hmm.
spending all this money. Where's my money? And if you're not
Yeah.
bringing any money in, then please demonstrate to me like why we continue to invest. And I think we might be hitting an inflection point between what's happening in the zeitgeist beyond like whatever, right? Where a CEO has to question every dollar of spend and like, why am I doing this?
Hmm.
And I think if I'm the head of an innovation team, I would say like before the CEO shows up, I'm going to um, preventively go ahead and go to them and say, "Hey, here's my pitch." But I do think these innovation leaders should pitch. In fact, I think an idea out here, like maybe at our next mastermind group event, we do like a little pitch. Like we ask two or three of the innovation groups, like, "Hey, pitch in front of the group.
Yeah.
Show us your pitch." How do we do it with our startups? But they have like 7 minutes and 7 minutes for Q&A.
Maybe. I mean, on our
Yeah,
virtual demo days, we do 5 and 5.
maybe we should do that. Maybe we should start doing
Yeah.
our virtual demo days for innovation people.
Yeah. We can certainly do that. Right.
Or
We.
at our next meeting, our Q2 meeting in Atlanta on May 20th. Like, why don't we could carve out 30 minutes. Hey, you all get 5 and 5. Let's go. Show me what you got.
Right. We should team it up with a hackathon, maybe.
Yeah, I want to do the hackathon. I don't think we can get it together. Like
Well,
the
it can be.
the there we have an impedance mismatch between my ability to generate ideas and the team's ability to execute the ideas. I generate 10 ideas a day and they can execute on one idea a day.
Yeah. And there's
It's
only
not their
there's
it's
only
not
so
their
many.
fault. It's not their
No.
fault.
There's only so much time we have as well. It becomes a logistical issue as well,
Come spend
essentially.
3 weeks with us at our mastermind.
Yeah, at our one three, it's our our unique our unique position is that our 1 day mastermind event lasts 3 weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
we, we cram it all into 3 weeks. Yeah. Well, I think you said this at the beginning. You're not calling out any one particular organization or one particular team. We see this all the time. I mean, we see this in our incubator as well, right?
Mhm,
Whenever and sometimes we take our live pitches on the road, right?
mhm,
We've done this with some other organizations and their conferences and whatnot, and whenever we have a live pitch that we're doing somewhere, I always do training for the founders that are going to be live pitching or training and practice sessions, right? Because we
mhm,
don't want them to show up and bomb, so to speak.
mhm,
But it's real, right? It's
mhm,
some the architects out there, they get a ton of training on pitching in school. Engineers, I'm guessing maybe not so much.
Mhm.
contractors, the CM side, not so much. So it's a definite skill set and it's a muscle, right, that has to be developed. Um, but really, it comes down to the most important piece of it is the storytelling piece of it, which you mentioned in your post there. We've
Mhm.
got to learn to be great storytellers, great communicators.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and we were talking about that this week in the Innovation Leaders Mastermind group. It's funny, we think about a lot. I think oh, what's innovation for the built environment or construction technology for the built environment. And we can oh, we're going to get together, we're going to talk about AI, or we're going to get together and talk about reality capture or whatever it is, whatever those emerging tech or AI or high tech kind of solutions are. And ultimately, and I do actually keep a list of this, but ultimately, if we were to go back and look at the things that we talk about the most, right, the
Mhm.
topics that come up the most, there's two. And in fact, in our very first in-person mastermind event, I know you remember this,
Mhm.
but the topic that we spent the entire day. So those of you that are listening, picture this. We've got innovation leaders from AEC firms all across North America. We got together in Miami, and what do innovation leaders talk about? We spent the entire day talking about communication.
Yep.
How
Yep.
do you communicate to your internal client? How do you communicate to your external client?
Yeah.
It's storytelling, right?
Let
It's
me tell you
one of the
something.
most important skills.
And look, there are some firms that are doing it pretty good. In fact, I was with a firm where the innovation leader built a stellar team, and in fact went to the CEO and said, "Hey, I think you're holding me back. Can I spin out the business into its own thing?
Hmm.
Like, cash me out of my company stock. I want to spin out and run it as my own thing."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's like the right idea, right? That's the right
Hmm.
thinking. Now, ultimately, the CEO met his demands, so to speak, to keep, which was honestly like that the innovation group was actually more valuable than in a way than the core business.
Sure. Yeah.
And if the
That's a
innovation
real
group
possibility.
on its own is more valuable than the core business is actually bringing me down. And then
Hmm.
if I have equity in the overall business, my contribution is not commensurate with the impact I'm making. And I could probably
Yeah.
just spin out and do it on my own.
Yeah.
Right, which I thought was like fascinating. I mean, it's great. I mean, look, all these things like people get nervous about. It's like it's not. It's like don't get scared. Like don't. It's one of these like they had another post like about like you know lizard brain, which a lot of people may or may not
Right.
know. But it's like the biggest thing I see with innovation people and leadership is this lizard brain where they say all the right things about innovation and vision and all that, but then the next day they have a meeting with their accountants and their AR department, and all of a sudden lizard brain kicks in, and all those things that were so strategic yesterday are meaningless today.
Yeah. Yeah. We should do one of these episodes on, I don't know how we frame it exactly, but things that are holding the teams back. And I think from both directions, right? From
Mhm.
the corporate versus innovation and innovation versus corporate, because that also becomes a major point of discussion with a lot of our mastermind members as well. But we'll spin that out in a different episode.
Yeah.
As you, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I was just going to wrap it up for us as
sure.
we're working on a little bit of a small window of time today, so we're going to wrap this one up. Um, KP and I have been, as usual, unpacking one of his LinkedIn posts. If you are not following KP on LinkedIn, you should just find KP, the letter K, the letter P, Reddy, Reddy, and look for his posts 2-3 times a day. This one reads like this: does your AEC innovation group have a pitch deck? Are they great at telling the story? AEC Innovation Group should think like a startup when it comes to this. If you're the CEO of an AEC firm and you haven't seen a pitch from your innovation group that amazed you, they are doing it wrong. This is real. Right? This is real. We need to be able to tell the story. We need to be able to communicate, and this is a great place to start the discussion. So, um, KP, as always, thank you for joining me today. It's great to
Absolutely.
unpack these things. It's always fun. And for those of you that are listening to us, the number one podcast on innovation in the AEC world, we thank you for listening.